I found a dying billionaire and his twin babies behind a dumpster on the worst night of my life. He was covered in blood, barely breathing, and he begged me not to call for help. I had 10 seconds to make a choice that would either save 3 lives or destroy mine forever. What I did next changed everything. This is my story, and I need you to hear it all the way through, because by the end, you'll understand why some of the bravest choices we make are the ones that look completely insane to everyone else. Let me take you back to that rainy September night in Chicago. Welcome to Voice of Granny. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Sometimes life changes in a single moment. One decision, one choice, and suddenly everything you thought you knew just shifts. That's what happened to me on a cold September night in Chicago. My name is Sophie Bennett, and this is the story of how I found hope in the most unexpected place. I'd been working at Millie's Diner for almost 3 years. It wasn't glamorous, just a small place on the South Side where locals came for coffee and comfort food. The pay was barely enough to cover rent, but after everything I'd been through, it was all I could handle. You see, for years ago, I lost both my parents in a terrible accident. One minute they were there, and the next they were gone. I'd been in nursing school at the time, halfway through my degree, dreaming of helping people just like my mother had. She was a pediatric nurse, and I wanted to follow in her footsteps. But after they died, I couldn't do it anymore. Every patient reminded me of them. Every emergency room brought back that awful night. So I dropped out, took on crushing student debt, and became a waitress. People say time heals all wounds, but sometimes it just teaches you how to survive with the pain. That September evening, the rain had been falling for hours. The kind of rain that soaks through everything and chills you to your bones. I was finishing my double shift, exhausted and ready to go home. My boss, Millie, a sweet 70-year-old woman who'd become like family, told me to head out early. "You've been on your feet since noon, honey," she said, wiping down the counter with that same old cloth she'd used for years. "I'll close up. You get home safe." I grabbed my worn jacket and the trash bags by the back door. The dumpsters were just 20 feet away in the alley. I'd made that walk 1,000 times. What was one more? The moment I stepped outside, the rain hit me hard. Cold, relentless, washing over the city like it was trying to cleanse something dark away. I hurried toward the dumpsters, wanting to get this done and get to my car. That's when I heard it. Crying. Not just any crying, the desperate, heartbroken sound of babies. My heart stopped. I dropped the trash bag, and it spilled across the wet pavement, forgotten. The sound came from behind the larger dumpster, deeper in the shadows where the alley dead-ended. I should have been scared. Chicago alleys at night aren't safe. But something pulled me forward. "Hello," I called out, my voice shaking. "Is someone there?" The crying got louder. 2 different voices. 2 babies. I rounded the dumpster, and what I saw made my blood run cold. 2 infant carriers sat on the ground, partially sheltered by a fire escape above. Inside were 2 tiny babies, maybe 8 or 9 months old, crying their hearts out. But that wasn't what made me gasp. Slumped against the brick wall beside them was a man. Even in the dim light, I could see the blood. So much blood. It covered his white dress shirt, his expensive suit jacket, mixing with the rain that plastered his dark hair to his forehead. His hand gripped the handle of one carrier with desperate strength, like he was holding on to the only thing that mattered. "Oh my God," I breathed, dropping to my knees beside him. The puddles soaked through my jeans instantly. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open. They were blue-gray like storm clouds and filled with so much pain and fear. But the fear wasn't for himself, I realized. It was for those babies. "Please," he whispered, his accent refined, educated. "Please, don't call hospital. They'll find the children." His head fell to the side, consciousness slipping away. My hands shook as I pressed them against his shoulder, where the blood was coming from. I'd had enough medical training to know this was serious. The wound was deep, still bleeding, and his skin was cold. Too cold. "I need to call 911, I said, pulling out my phone with bloody fingers. "No." His hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. His eyes locked onto mine with fierce desperation. "No police. No hospital. They'll take the children." I looked at those 2 babies, still crying, so small and helpless. Then back at this man who was bleeding out, but still trying to protect them. Every logical thought in my head screamed at me to call for help. To do the right thing, the legal thing. But I thought about my own parents. About how my father had held my hand as he died, asking me to be strong. About my mother calling my name in that hospital bed. About all the ways the system had failed people I loved. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Okay, but we need to move you. Can you stand?" He nodded weakly. I knew it was probably a lie. I looked at the babies again. "Are they yours?" "My daughters," he managed. "Lily and Rose." "Okay. Lily and Rose are coming too." I made the decision right then, understanding somehow that nothing would ever be the same. I grabbed both carriers, setting them aside where the rain couldn't reach. Then I returned to the man. "I'm going to help you stand. My car is just 20 feet away." Together, we struggled to our feet. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, and I nearly buckled under his weight. But adrenaline pushed me forward. Step by agonizing step, we made it to my beat-up Honda at the mouth of the alley. I secured both baby carriers in the back seat, my fingers fumbling with the seatbelts. The babies had quieted to whimpers, their wide eyes watching me. "It's okay," I murmured, though I had no idea if that was true. "Everything's going to be okay." Getting him into the passenger seat took everything I had. His head fell back against the headrest, his breathing labored. "Stay with me," I said firmly, racing around to the driver's side. The drive to my apartment normally took 40 minutes. I made it in 20, running red lights and pushing my old car to its limits. I kept talking the whole way, partly to keep him conscious and partly to keep myself from panicking. "I'm Sophie, by the way. Sophie Bennett. I live alone in a small place in the suburbs. It's not much, but it's clean. I have medical supplies. I used to be in nursing school before. Well, before life happened. I think I remember enough. God, I hope I remember enough." In the back seat, one of the twins started crying again. "Almost there," I promised them all. "Almost there." My apartment building was nothing special, just a tired 3-story complex where everyone minded their own business. I'd never been more grateful for that than I was tonight. Getting him up 2 flights of stairs was a nightmare. He could barely walk, let alone climb. I half-carried, half-dragged him, stopping every few steps to let him breathe. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson from 2A, opened her door at the commotion, took one look at us, and closed it again without a word. Thank God for people who knew how to look the other way. By the time we reached my door, I was shaking with exhaustion. I fumbled with my keys, got the door open, and guided him straight to my couch. He collapsed onto it with a sound that was part relief, part agony. I ran back down for the babies, taking the stairs 2 at a time despite my burning legs. Lily and Rose were miraculously quiet now, their eyes drooping. I grabbed both carriers and made the climb again, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Inside, I locked the door, deadbolt, chain, everything. Then I just stood there for a moment, breathing hard, looking at the scene before me. My small living room with its second-hand furniture now contained a severely injured stranger bleeding on my couch and 2 infant babies in carriers on my floor. "Okay," I said out loud, forcing myself into action. "Medical supplies first." I kept a well-stocked first aid kit under my bathroom sink, a remnant from my nursing school days. I grabbed it along with clean towels, rubbing alcohol, and every bandage I had. Back in the living room, his eyes were closed, his breathing shallow. I knelt beside the couch and carefully peeled back his jacket. His shirt underneath was soaked through with blood. I cut away the fabric with scissors, revealing the wound. It looked like he'd been stabbed, the injury deep in his shoulder. But from what I could see, it had missed the major arteries. The fact that he was still alive suggested that much. Still, he'd lost a lot of blood, and infection was a serious risk. "This is going to hurt," I warned, though I wasn't sure he could hear me. I cleaned the wound as gently as possible. His entire body tensed, a low groan escaping through clenched teeth, but he didn't cry out. I worked quickly, packing the wound with gauze and wrapping it tightly. My hands remembered more than my mind did. The motions came back naturally. By the time I finished, I felt steadier. But his fever concerned me. His skin burned to the touch. I fetched a cool cloth and placed it on his forehead, then covered him with a blanket. Only then did I turn my attention to the babies. Lily and Rose were both awake now, watching me with solemn eyes that seemed too knowing for infants. They needed changing, feeding, comfort, and I had no supplies. Then I noticed a diaper bag tucked under Rose's carrier. Inside, diapers, wipes, bottles, formula, everything. Whoever this man was, he'd been prepared. I'd never changed a diaper in my life, but I figured it out through trial and error, talking softly to them as I worked. "I'm sorry if I'm doing this wrong. You're probably used to someone who knows what they're doing." Rose grabbed my finger with her tiny fist, and something in my chest cracked open. I warmed bottles and fed them one at a time. They ate hungrily, their little hands reaching for the bottles. When they were done, I burped them and created a makeshift bed on the floor using cushions and pillows. It was past 2 in the morning when I finally let myself sink to the floor, my back against the wall. I looked at the man on my couch, then at the babies, then at my own blood-stained hands. "What have I done?" I whispered. Around 4 a.m., his fever spiked. I woke to the sound of him murmuring, thrashing weakly. I pressed the cool cloth to his forehead again. "You need to fight this," I said softly. "Those babies need you." His hand found mine in his delirium, gripping tight. "Don't let them," he murmured. "Promise, protect." "Protect who?" I asked, but he was gone again, lost in fevered dreams. I found his wallet in his jacket. Inside was a lot of cash and a photo, worn from being looked at frequently. It showed him, healthier and smiling, with a beautiful woman. Her hand rested on her very pregnant belly. Both wore wedding rings. Written on the back, "James, Catherine, and our miracles. 3 months to go." James. His name was James. And Catherine, she wasn't here. I looked at the sleeping babies and understood. These were their daughters, and something had happened to their mother. I tucked the photo back and returned to my spot on the floor. As dawn broke over Chicago, I made a promise to that sleeping room. "I'll keep them safe. Whatever this is, whoever you are, I'll keep them safe." I woke to crying. Not desperate wails, but the insistent hungry cries of babies who knew it was morning and wanted breakfast. Pale autumn sunlight filtered through my curtains. For one blissful moment, I forgot everything. Then reality came flooding back. I pushed myself up, every muscle screaming, and stumbled to the babies. Rose was the louder one, her face red and scrunched. Lily whimpered beside her. Okay, I hear you," I murmured, lifting Rose first. I glanced at the couch. James lay exactly as I'd left him, but his breathing seemed steadier. The fever had broken. His face had more color. I managed to warm bottles while holding Rose, then settled on the floor to feed them. I was halfway through feeding Lily when James stirred. His eyes opened, unfocused and confused. Then his gaze landed on me, and I saw the moment full consciousness returned. His body tensed. "It's in the closet," I said quietly. "Your jacket." I checked to make sure it was safe, then put it away. His jaw tightened. He tried to sit up and immediately went white with pain. "Don't," I said firmly. "You lost a lot of blood. You'll tear your stitches." "Stitches?" His voice was hoarse. I couldn't leave the wound open. I did the best I could. He studied me for a long moment, then looked at the baby in my arms. Something in his expression cracked. "Rose," he breathed. "She's fine. They're both fine. They slept through most of the night once they were fed." I watched his eyes move between his daughters, checking that they were truly unharmed. "Do you want to hold her?" I asked. "When she's done eating?" He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. When Rose finished her bottle, I carefully helped James adjust so he could cradle her against his good shoulder. The transformation was immediate. Rose settled against her father's chest. James's eyes closed, and I saw his lips move in what looked like a prayer. "How long?" he asked after a moment. "About 12 hours since I found you." I stood, needing to move. "Your wallet," said James. "Yes. James Westbrook. I'm Sophie. Sophie Bennett." "I know. I remember everything." His gaze followed me. "You work at the diner?" "Yeah. Have for 3 years. I started making coffee. I'm guessing you weren't there for the pie last night." "I was running. They found me 6 blocks away. I made it to the alley before." He didn't finish. I turned to face him. "Who found you?" "People I'd rather not discuss. I think I deserve more than that, Mr. Westbrook. I could be arrested for what I did. Failing to report an injury like yours, that's a crime." "Then why didn't you call them?" "You asked me not to. And the babies. I couldn't risk them being taken into the system." Understanding flickered across his face. "I'm sorry about your parents." "Don't." I shook my head. "Don't be nice to me. Don't make me feel good about this decision because I'm terrified I made the wrong one." I poured coffee for both of us, adding sugar. I brought him a cup, helping him hold it. "Thank you," he said, and I couldn't tell if he meant for the coffee or everything. I settled into the armchair. "The photo in your wallet." "Catherine." His entire body went rigid. "I needed to know if you had family I should call." "Catherine died 9 months ago," he said quietly. "Complications during childbirth." "I'm so sorry." She held them once. For 20 minutes. Then her heart just stopped. We sat in silence, drinking coffee. Lily woke up, and I retrieved her, settling her in my lap. "You're good with them," James observed. "I'm faking it." "No, you're not." He paused. "The last 9 months have been chaos. Catherine's family blamed me. They tried to take the twins. Then there were business complications that turned dangerous." "What kind of business requires you to run through Chicago at night with your children, afraid of hospitals?" His expression shuddered. "The kind that's better not discussed." "No." My voice hardened. "You don't get to do that. I saved your life. I'm caring for your children. You owe me the truth." We stared at each other. Rose stirred between us, and James automatically adjusted to soothe her. "I'm a billionaire," he finally said. "Technology sector. My company developed security software that's used by governments worldwide. Some people wanted me to sign over certain patents, give them access to encryption codes that would compromise national security. I refused. So they sent assassins." The words hung in the air. "They attacked me in my home office last night. I managed to fight them off, but not before." He gestured to his shoulder. "I grabbed the girls and ran. I knew I couldn't go to a hospital. They'd have people watching. Couldn't call my security team because someone on the inside betrayed me. So I just ran. Until you collapsed in that alley. Until you found us. I processed this. A billionaire. Assassins. Corporate espionage on a massive scale. Are we safe here?" James hesitated. "I don't know. A day, maybe 2. They'll be looking, but they won't expect me to stay in the city." "What's your plan?" "Heal enough to move. Contact people I trust. Make arrangements. And if you can't heal in time, then I deal with it." "That's not a plan. That's suicide." His eyes flashed. "What do you want from me?" "I've thanked you. I can pay you. Just tell me what you want." I stood, pacing to the window with Lily. "I don't want your money. I want to know that helping you wasn't a mistake. I want to know these babies are going to be okay." "I don't know," James said honestly. "Ask me again when this is over." 2 weeks passed in careful routine. I called in sick to work that first week, then reduced my hours, claiming family issues. Millie didn't push. She just told me to take care of myself. James healed steadily. His shoulder improved day by day, and soon he could move around the apartment. We fell into an unexpected rhythm, caring for the twins together, cooking simple meals, existing in this strange bubble of domesticity. I learned their patterns. Rose was fussier but easier to soothe. She just needed to be held. Lily was quieter but more stubborn. When she decided she didn't like something, she made it known. And I learned about James. He built his company from nothing, driven by a passion for protecting people's digital privacy. Catherine had been a human rights lawyer. They'd met at a charity event and fallen in love over their shared belief that technology should serve humanity, not exploit it. "She made me better," James said one evening as we gave the twins their bottles. "I was so focused on business, on success. She reminded me what actually mattered. She sounds amazing. She was everything." His voice cracked. "And now these 2 will grow up barely remembering her. They'll know her through you," I said softly. "Through the stories you tell. The values you teach them. Love doesn't die just because someone's gone." James looked at me with those storm-gray eyes. "You're wise beyond your years." "I'm just someone who's learned that grief and love are 2 sides of the same coin." The danger felt distant during those weeks, easy to forget in the mundane routines of diaper changes and midnight feedings. But it was always there, lurking. One night, around the end of the 2nd week, James's phone rang. He'd been checking it periodically, waiting for this call. "David," he answered, his most trusted business partner. "Talk to me." I watched his face as he listened, saw relief flood his features. "You're sure?" "Good. Yes, I'm ready. Connecticut works. Thank you, old friend." He hung up and turned to me. "They found the traitor. Someone on my security team sold me out. David's handled it, legally," he added quickly. "The police are involved now. And he's arranged a safe house in Connecticut. Clean identities for the transition period until the threat is completely neutralized." My stomach dropped. "When?" "Tomorrow night. There's a private car coming." I should have been relieved. This was good news. But all I felt was loss. That evening, after the twins were asleep, I stood at my window staring out at the Chicago skyline. James came to stand beside me. "Sophie," he said quietly, "come with us." I turned shocked. "What?" Come with us. Help me raise them. Be part of our lives. He moved closer. These past 2 weeks. I haven't felt this alive since Catherine died. The twins need you. I need you. James, I can't just. Why not? What's keeping you here? A job that barely pays your bills? Student debt? Or maybe, he touched my face gently. Maybe you're scared of wanting something real. Tears filled my eyes. This is insane. I know, but the best things usually are. I looked at the sleeping babies, then back at him. My parents had taught me that love meant taking risks. That playing it safe wasn't really living. What about Catherine? I whispered. What would she think? James smiled sadly. Catherine believed in second chances. In finding joy after loss. She'd tell me I was an idiot if I let you walk away. I'm not a replacement for her. You're not. You're something entirely different. Something I didn't know I needed until you appeared in that alley. I thought about my parents. About the dreams I'd abandoned. About 3 years of just surviving instead of living. Okay, I whispered. Okay, yes. James kissed me then, soft, tentative, full of hope and fear and possibility. The private car arrived exactly when David said it would. I packed what little I owned into 2 suitcases, left a note for my landlord, and sent Millie a text apologizing for leaving without notice. I promised to explain someday. The drive to Connecticut took 4 hours. James sat beside me in the back of the luxury SUV, Lily and Rose in their carriers between us. We didn't talk much. There was too much to say and no words quite fit. The safe house turned out to be a beautiful colonial home in a quiet suburb outside Hartford. Private, secure, with a garden that would be perfect for the twins once they started walking. It's temporary, James explained as we carried everything inside. Once the legal situation is resolved, we can go anywhere. Do anything. I want you to help choose. The first few weeks were an adjustment. I enrolled in online nursing courses, determined to finish what I'd started. James worked remotely, slowly rebuilding his security team with people David had thoroughly vetted. And together, we raised Lily and Rose. We celebrated their first birthday in that house. Just the 4 of us, with a small cake James somehow burned despite following the recipe exactly. The twins smashed frosting everywhere, and we laughed until we cried. Catherine would have loved this, James said, watching me wipe icing off Rose's face. Tell me about her, I said. I want to know. I want them to know. So he did. He told stories about Catherine, her terrible sense of direction, her infectious laugh, the way she'd sing off-key in the shower. We hung photos of her throughout the house, made her a real presence in our lives. She's part of our family, I told the twins as they grew older, showing them pictures. Your mama loved you so much. And now you have me too. That's not replacing her. That's just more love. 6 months after we moved to Connecticut, James proposed. Not with a grand gesture, but quietly, one evening after we'd put the twins to bed. I'm not trying to recreate what I had with Catherine, he said. This is different. But it's real and it's ours. Will you marry me? I said yes. We got married in a small ceremony with just David and a few trusted friends. I wore a simple dress. James wore the same nervous smile he'd had the night I found him in that alley. I keep thinking about that night, he said during our first dance. How you could have walked away. Called the police. Done the safe, sensible thing. And miss all this? I smiled up at him. Not a chance. No regrets. I thought about the path that led me here. The loss of my parents that derailed my dreams. The years of just surviving. The rainy September night that changed everything. Not a single one, I said. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is choose hope over fear. Choose love over safety. James pulled me closer. Catherine used to say something similar. That courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was choosing to love despite it. She was right. We built a life in that house. I finished my nursing degree and got a job at a children's hospital, finally fulfilling my mother's dream and my own. James sold his company for an astronomical sum and started a foundation in Catherine's name, providing technology education to underprivileged kids. And Lily and Rose grew. They learned to walk, to talk, to fill our home with laughter and chaos. They knew their mother through stories and photos. And they knew me as the woman who loved them fiercely, who'd chosen them in a dark alley and never looked back. One evening, 5 years after that rainy night, I pushed a stroller through our neighborhood. Lily and Rose, now confident 5-year-olds, ran ahead, chasing butterflies. James walked beside me, his arm around my waist, our newborn son sleeping peacefully in the stroller. "You know what I think about sometimes?" James said, watching our daughters play. "What?" "That alley. That moment when you could have made a different choice. And how everything good in my life stems from your courage that night." I leaned into him. "I think about it too. About how I'd been just surviving for so long. And how you and the girls gave me a reason to really live again. We saved each other." "Yeah," I smiled. "We did." Lily ran back to us, her face flushed with excitement. "Mama Sophie, come see. There's a rainbow." I took her hand, this child who wasn't mine by birth but was mine in every way that mattered, and let her lead me toward the rainbow. James followed with Rose, who was chattering about butterflies and flowers and everything her curious mind wanted to explore. This was my family, built from tragedy and impossible choices. From a waitress's compassion and a desperate father's plea. From two people who'd lost everything and found each other in the darkness. Some love stories begin in darkness, in rain-soaked alleys with blood and tears. But if you're brave enough to choose hope, if you're willing to risk your heart, they can still find their way to light. And standing there in my Connecticut neighborhood, surrounded by the laughter of children and the love of a man who'd become my everything, I understood something my mother used to say. The best things in life are the ones you never saw coming. She was right. I never saw James Westbrook coming. Never imagined that one rainy September night would lead me here. But I chose compassion over fear. I chose love over safety. And that choice gave me everything. Sometimes the right choice isn't the safe one. Sometimes courage looks like a waitress stopping to help a stranger. Sometimes family is built not from blood, but from a decision made in darkness to step forward into the unknown. This is our story. This is how I learned that surviving and living are two different things. And how one rainy night in Chicago taught me that the bravest thing you can do is choose love, even when every logical thought tells you to run. I chose love, and love chose me back.